Is the 4% rule dead? For decades, this was the golden rule of retirement, but with rising inflation and longer lifespans, many are asking if it can still be trusted. Welcome back to Financial Cake, your go-to channel for making sense of modern money. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most sacred cows of personal finance. We'll analyze the famous Trinity Study in the context of today's economy and explore what the new rules of retirement look like for Millennials and Gen Z. First, let's quickly recap what the 4% rule even is. It's based on a landmark 1998 paper called the Trinity Study. The researchers wanted to find a safe withdrawal rate, an amount you could take from your retirement portfolio each year without running out of money for at least 30 years. They ran historical data for various stock and bond allocations and found that a 4% withdrawal rate, adjusted for inflation each year, had a very high success rate. So, if you had $1 million portfolio, you could withdraw $40,000 in your first year of retirement, then $40,000 plus inflation the next year, and so on. For a long time, this was the bedrock of retirement planning. It was simple, easy to calculate, and backed by historical data. But the world we live in today looks very different from the one the Trinity Study analyzed. The first major challenge is inflation. The original study was based on historical inflation rates, which were, on average, much more moderate than some of the spikes we've seen recently. High inflation is a silent portfolio killer. When inflation is high, you have to withdraw more money just to maintain your purchasing power. If your portfolio returns don't keep pace, you're essentially eating into your principal at a much faster rate. This significantly increases the risk of running out of money. Imagine your living expenses are $40,000. If inflation is 2%, you'll need $40,800 next year. But if inflation is 7%, you suddenly need $42,800. That extra demand on your portfolio, year after year, compounds and can be devastating over a 30-year timeline. The second factor throwing a wrench in the works is our increasing longevity. The Trinity Study was based on a 30-year retirement horizon. This was a reasonable assumption for someone retiring at 65 back in the day. But now, people are living longer. It's not uncommon for people to live well into their 90s. For a millennial or Gen Zer who might retire at 60 or even earlier, a 30-year retirement is no longer a safe bet. We need to plan for 40, 50, or even 60 years of retirement. When you stretch the timeline from 30 years to 40 or 50, the 4% rule's success rate drops dramatically. The original study itself showed that for longer periods, the probability of failure increases. A rule that works for 30 years might leave you broke in year 35. This is a critical consideration for younger generations. We can't just copy and paste the retirement plans of our parents or grandparents. The goalposts have moved, and we need a strategy that reflects a potentially much longer period without earned income. Another modern challenge is the changing nature of market returns. The Trinity Study was based on a period of exceptional U.S. market performance. While the past is a guide, it's not a guarantee of future results. Many financial experts now predict lower expected returns for stocks and bonds over the coming decades compared to the historical averages used in the study. Bond yields, in particular, have been at historic lows for years, which weakens the safe portion of a traditional portfolio. If your portfolio is only growing at an average of 6% instead of 8% or 10%, withdrawing 4% becomes much riskier. The margin for error shrinks considerably, especially when you factor in inflation and a longer retirement timeline. So, if the 4% rule is on shaky ground, what does modern retirement planning look like? The new approach isn't about finding one magic number, but about being flexible, dynamic, and prepared. The first new rule is to consider a more conservative withdrawal rate. Many experts now suggest a rate closer to 3% or 3.5% as a safer starting point, especially for those planning a long retirement. This provides a larger buffer against market downturns and high inflation. Starting with a lower withdrawal rate means you might need a larger nest egg to begin with. But it significantly boosts the long-term sustainability of your plan. It's about trading a little bit of spending in the early years for a lot more security in the later years. The second new rule is dynamic withdrawals. Instead of taking a fixed, inflation-adjusted amount every year, you adjust your spending based on market performance. This is often called the guardrail method. For example, you might have a baseline withdrawal rate of 4%. If the market has a great year and your portfolio grows significantly, you might give yourself a raise and withdraw 4.5% the next year. Conversely, if the market crashes, you tighten your belt and withdraw only 3% or 3.5%. This approach helps protect your portfolio when it's most vulnerable and allows you to enjoy the fruits of good years without derailing your long-term plan. It's about being responsive to reality, not rigidly sticking to a rule. The third new rule is to build in flexibility through diversified income streams. Relying solely on your investment portfolio is the old way of thinking. The new way involves creating multiple sources of retirement income. This could include rental income from a property, part-time work or a side hustle you enjoy, or even delaying Social Security to receive a larger monthly benefit later. These other income streams reduce the pressure on your portfolio. If you have other money coming in, you won't need to sell as many assets during a market downturn. This gives your portfolio time to recover and is one of the most powerful strategies for making your money last a lifetime. Another key part of modern planning is a more sophisticated approach to your asset allocation. The old 60-40 stock/bond portfolio might not be enough. Younger retirees need to consider a more global and diversified portfolio. This means including international stocks, real estate, and maybe even a small allocation to alternative investments to hedge against different economic scenarios. The goal is to build a portfolio that is resilient and not overly dependent on the performance of a single country's market. Finally, the most important new rule is to plan for healthcare. This was always a factor, but with rising healthcare costs and longer lifespans, it's become a central pillar of retirement planning. Healthcare costs can be one of the largest and most unpredictable expenses in retirement. Failing to account for them can completely wreck even the best-laid plans. This means actively saving in accounts like a health savings account, HSA, if you have one, and carefully researching your options for health insurance in retirement long before you actually need it. So, is the 4% rule completely dead? Not necessarily. It can still be a useful benchmark, a starting point for your calculations. But it is no longer the simple, set it and forget it rule it once was. For Millennials and Gen Z, retirement planning is less about finding a single number and more about building a robust, flexible system. It's about being proactive, adaptable, and realistic about the challenges of inflation, longevity, and market uncertainty. The new rules are: be conservative with your initial withdrawals, be dynamic in your spending, diversify your income streams, build a globally diversified portfolio, and plan aggressively for healthcare. It's more work, but it's the path to a truly secure retirement in the modern era. Thank you so much for watching. What are your thoughts on the 4% rule? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay updated with all things money on Financial Cake.